Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about
Here's my question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your
Great.
question.
I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay, great. So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
Joy, you're going to read this to your kids at bedtime. You're going to open up the book and talk about how the young man in All the Boys Aren't Blue was by an adult family member as a child. No, of course not. No one's reading that to their kid at bedtime. So
Patrick Bet-David is tired of the evil woke left running the world and deciding what children can see in schools and things like that. In this clip here, Patrick Bet-David teams up with the Moms of Liberty co-founder to destroy Joy Reid once again. We saw the clip, if you saw the video that I posted yesterday, where Patrick Bet-David absolutely destroyed Joy Reid for what she said to this Moms of Liberty co-founder. And in that video, Joy Reid said a lot of very disgusting things and defended a lot of very disgusting things that's being shown to children in schools. In this video, Patrick Bet-David goes even harder. Let's check out this clip here from the PBD Podcast and the Valuetainment YouTube channel of PBD going off on Joy Reid.
I want to start off with the Joy Reid. Let's just get it out so everybody knows who you are, because some people who maybe watch the content for other reasons may not know. But I want the audience to see this clip, Rob. If you can pull it up, and yeah, if you can just, is this the specific part that we're talking about, right?
This is where they're discussing context and the...
Perfect. That's the one. Go ahead and play this clip. Everybody, pay attention to this. I'm assuming you have common sense, you have logic, the folks who watch this content, whether you agree with us or not, and if you're a parent, tell me you're comfortable with this exchange. Go ahead.
You can do keyword searches and find certain keywords. Like you can find sure. You can find all sorts of keywords.
Of words. But
wait, hold on. Wait. Let me finish my question. Then you can answer. I'm going to give you time to answer, but I got to ask you first.
No, yeah, I got the question.
And so what you find is the keywords that you find, the N-word, anything, words like you just used.
I don't think this is
it,
Rob.
Get out of...
I think this is later, because there's one, if you go on Twitter, where she's asking right off the bat, where the exchange is about, let me see if I can find it. Moms for Liberty. The exchange is specifically about, you click on that, see what it is, where right off the bat, it's like, you mean to tell me, have you read this book? You think it's okay to have this book? See if it's talking about there in the corner with the context. Play this to see what this is, how it starts.
Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about
Here's my question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your
Great.
question.
I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay, great. So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
No, play it. Is that it? That's it. That was it. So you're seeing this exchange while you're sitting there, and she's trying to logically argue that what's wrong with dildos being in a book, and let the parents decide. If you don't want it, go ahead and sign this and say, I don't want my kids to have access to this. What are you thinking in that moment when you're talking to Joy Reid? Do you sit there and say, she can't believe this because she's got kids herself, right? What's going through your mind during that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of a lot of things. First of all, I knew it wasn't an honest conversation, right? It felt like a fencing match more than anything. So there were a lot of different things going through my head about, how to engage with her. Previously, I had said to her, explain to me the context. I think that was the clip you were talking about. Explain to me the context around the strap though that makes it acceptable for public school. And she couldn't answer that. She refused to answer it the entire time we were having the conversation. So yeah, I mean, what you really want to ask Joy is, Joy, you're going to read this to your kids at bedtime. You're going to open up the book and talk about how the young man in All the Boys Aren't Blue was by an adult family member as a child. No, of course not. No one's reading that to their kid at bedtime. So it's a disingenuous conversation.
And it's really discussed. She's completely correct. Joy Reid would never read that to her kids, of course. But she has to defend it, because if you don't defend it, then you get shunned from the woke left. And also her paycheck relies on her being part of the woke left and being the front, leading from the front of the woke left. So if she doesn't defend this, then she loses money. I don't know if she's paid off by higher powers to spread this propaganda, or if it just comes from her working for MSNBC and, that's just what they want to push out there. So either way, though, she's getting paid to spread this stuff, because we all know that no person with a functioning brain, unless they're actively trying to brainwash their kids into becoming, psychopaths and mentally ill to the fullest extent, they would never read their children that at bedtime. She's correct. And Patrick Bet-David's about to destroy Joy Reid again here, but it's right. And it makes it even worse that she's willing to sacrifice her morals and her ethics for a paycheck whenever she actually has kids herself. And we all know that she would never read this to her kids. Like, it makes it just so much worse, man. These people are just straight up evil. I try to not say that too often because I think the word evil is thrown around a little bit too much, but there's no other word to really describe this whenever you're trying to defend a book that is showing what that book is showing to kids. There's no other way to describe it. It's just straight evil.
I told her that when we were talking about it, but, I was happy she had me on. It was an incredible opportunity to be able to, engage on this issue in a way where people could really see how what a horrible argument they have.
Yeah. So first of all, why don't we go back to, you starting this company for some of the, you and yourself and the two founders that started it. Motive, what was it? Was it a call? Was it a tipping point? Was there one event that took place where you said, you know what, this is too much and we got to do something about it? When did that happen? So
there are two co-founders, me and then Tina Deskovich. And Tina served in Brevard County, Florida. I served in Indian River County, so just a few hours north of here. We served on school board. We saw some of the ideology creeping in. I'll be honest, I think especially my county, a bit of a bubble. So a lot of the ideology that you're seeing around the country wasn't in our school system at that point. It certainly is now. But during COVID, there was just, it was the obliteration of parental rights. It was shocking to me. You'd have parents coming to the podium, Patrick, talking about masks were hurting their child. Tina remembers a story about a mom coming to the podium and speaking to the school board and saying, my daughter's deaf. She has trouble seeing out of one of her eyes. She's being forced to wear a mask. I have a mask exemption. You're not letting my child use the mask exemption. And when she wears her glasses and the mask, if you wear glasses, your glasses fog. And so now she can't hear, she can't read lips, and she's having trouble seeing out of the one good eye she has. This sounds, it's shocking.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Shocking. And the school system was like, sorry, no mask exemption. And so a system that normally is about making accommodations for kids, right? Because you have 4 kids, every child is totally different, and they need different accommodations. So a system that used to do that and try to do it well had totally thrown that out the window and just really elected officials abdicated their authority to bureaucrats. That's what I saw time and time again. And so we saw parents coming to the podium and they were upset and they didn't know how to advocate. They were yelling. They were getting frustrated. Their mics were getting cut off across the country. They didn't know who held the levers of power in order to make change happen, right? Someone would say, I'm going to report you to the county commission. Well, in Florida, the county commission has nothing to do with the school board. And so we knew that parents needed a roadmap on how to be effective advocates. And Tina and I were prepared, by the grace of God in our time on school board to be able to show parents how to fight back.
And was there a tipping point where it was kind of, because some of this stuff, it seems like it just happened suddenly in the last 4 years. Prior to that, I remember living in LA and, Prop 8 or whatever that was going through, hey, here's what they're going to be doing. And gay marriage is going through this. And, you saw President Bill Clinton, marriages between men and women. And then afterwards, you get to choose who you want to marry. So it's been a gradual evolution that's been taking place the last 30 years, but it's been gradual. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, in your face. Nope. Here's what we want, the kids to go through. Was there a tipping point of that taking place?
Well, that's what, everybody always talks about the slippery slope argument being a fallacy. In this case, I don't think it is a fallacy. Like it's just true. And people have been trying to say this for years and years, ever since I was too young to be able to even know what's going on. People have been saying, oh, this is a slippery slope. This is a slippery slope. If we start allowing, gay marriage, then what's next after that? You get the picture. I don't want to go through it all for obvious reasons, but you get the picture, right? There's a very slippery slope with all this stuff. And now we're at the point now where they don't even care about trying to hide it. Like, it's not even a Trojan horse anymore. They're just straight up saying, like, Joy Reid is on MSNBC. And we have Patrick Bet-David talking about this multiple times where Joy Reid is on MSNBC just straight up defending a book that is being shown in schools that children are being forced to read. And it has, like, not just sexual premises, but like disgusting sexual things happening in this book. Like, if a whole classroom, like let's say like 100 students are shown this book, probably like 15 of them are going to come out with mental illnesses after, like it's really disgusting. So it definitely is. The slippery slope argument was not a fallacy. It was facts. And now we're at the point now where they don't have to use Trojan horses anymore. They're just straight up saying, yeah, we don't care. We're hanging pride flags in the White House on Memorial Day. Like we don't care. You know, it's all about this stuff now. So it was correct. The slippery slope stuff, it was correct. And now we're at a point where it's not a slippery slope anymore. We're all the way at the bottom. We're all the way down, you know, and I don't know if there's any going back up.
For us, for starting Moms for Liberty, or just in general?
Period, in America.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was talking to someone about MTV Awards, the last MTV Awards. There was like a lot of Satan stuff happening, right? And you've got a lot of cross-dressing. And I said, I remember when I was little and I would watch MTV Awards in high school, my parents would be like, why do you watch this garbage? Look at this, right? And so you try to step back as a parent and say, am I overreacting? Is this just, getting older? Or has this been a slow boil? It's been a slow boil, I think, because now we've reached the point where we have adults who are talking about taxpayers needing to pay for this ridiculous graphic sexual content in schools. We're seeing, I hope we get to talk about today, just the destabilization of kids in school through social emotional learning and gender ideology being stuck into kindergarten classrooms. And so I think it's just been, education is a captured institution, and it's just taken a period of time for us to get to this point where now everyone really sees it, and the left is fully operational. And that means that we get to see all of the things that they're doing very clearly.
As a parent that's listening to this, who feels helpless, right? You're like, hey, I don't have money to put my kids into private school. I don't have the ability to do homeschooling because I need my income and her income. So we're both working. I can't take the kids out. So I can't do homeschooling. I can't do private school. What can I do to fight against the stuff that's being fed to my kids when they're coming home? I feel kind of helpless. What do you say to those parents? What can they do?
Parents have the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children. That means the government doesn't give you that right, and they can't take that right away. And so you have the right to know what your children are being taught in school before they're being taught what that information, right? You have the right to direct their education, and you can't direct something if you're constantly reacting to it. And that's why we fight so hard for transparency. So what can parents do? They can get involved. They can ask to be able to see what their children are being taught in school. They need to build a relationship with their child's teacher right off the bat. Hi, my name is Patrick. My son David is going to be in your class today, this year. I'd like to talk to you about how you feel about some different issues, how you approach different issues in the classroom. The best thing that parents can do is build relationships with their teacher, with their school principal, with their superintendent.
Yeah, that's true. Or just don't send your kids to school at all. In my opinion, this is my opinion. People are going to get so pissed off. I think it's very irresponsible to send your children to any school at all, especially public schools. Maybe if you live in a small town, a private school, a Catholic school or something like that, it would be okay. There's some exceptions here and there, of course. But I think as a general rule of thumb, just before you have children, if you don't have them yet, just make enough money before you have children to where you're cool with homeschooling your kids, so your wife can stay home and homeschool the kids, or you can homeschool the kids, whatever the case is. Just homeschool your kids, dude. It's just not worth taking the risk of them being absolutely ruined mentally, and ruining your entire kid's life by sending them off to school, especially public schools. Thankfully, we have people out there like Patrick Bet-David who are willing to push back on people like Joy Reid, and also this Moms for Liberty co-founder. I'm not sure what her name is. I believe it's Tiffany. Thankfully, we have people out there like Tiffany and like Patrick Bet-David who can, who are willing to do stuff like this and actually take action to push against people like Joy Reid. Let me know in the comments, though, what you think about Patrick Bet-David and this Moms for Liberty co-founder absolutely destroying Joy Reid once again here on the PBD Podcast.